gubernatorial candidate Lee Zeldin is with me now. Thanks for coming in the studio.
Great to be with you.
Yes, sir. What are you going to do about this crime surge in New York State?
We need to repeal cashless bail. We need to fire rogue district attorneys like Alvin Bragg who refuse to enforce the law. We have lax judges as well who need to do their job. We have seen time and again crimes being committed because of pro-criminal laws. People are on the streets and they shouldn't be. The person who had attacked a woman in a Brooklyn subway just last week, the woman's battling for her vision right now. That person who had murdered her grandfather, that person was released back on the street because of a law called Less is More, which Kathy Hochul signed about 13 months ago. We have our corrections officers and other prison staff and inmates being assaulted more because of implementation of a new law called the HALT Act. That needs to be repealed. So the pro-criminal laws need to be repealed, and we need to remove DAs who refuse to enforce the law, and we need to start unapologetically backing our selfless, dedicated men and women in blue.
Does the governor, if you're elected governor, do you have the power to just say, end this cashless bail nonsense? But you don't have the power to legislate change.
That's plan A, is going through the legislature. This is a change of law. This is something that voters in New York, they don't just go to the ballot box to pick a new governor November 8th. They're also electing all the state assemblymen, all the state senators. And on top of this shouldn't be a Republican versus Democratic issue. Even the New York City mayor, Eric Adams, says that judges should have discretion to weigh dangerousness. So we need to put together the votes to change this law. What the governor does have the power to do, it's in the New York State Constitution, is remove a DA who refuses to do their job. It's not just a constitutional authority, it's a constitutional duty. We do not have recall elections in New York, but the governor does have the power to remove a DA like Alvin Bragg.
Governor Hochul is using the National Guard to move migrants from their tent city encampment in the Bronx, moving them to Randall's Island. What would you do with the migrants that are arriving in New York all the time?
Well, the reality is, even if you had a great day dealing with it today, it's going to get worse tomorrow because we have to deal with this on our southern border. The governor should be putting pressure on this president of her own party, who she'll be with today. They're going to be together in Poughkeepsie. Maybe Governor Hochul should say, you know what, President Biden, you should finish construction of the border wall, end catch and release, enforce the Remain in Mexico policy, support Customs and Border Patrol agents, stop incentivizing and rewarding illegal entry. She won't do any of that. And by the way, the flights are still coming into these small airports. We need to know who's coming, where they're coming from, where they're going. You're never going to bring control of this if the federal government doesn't do their job.
And the governor, if you became the governor, you've got the power to do that, have you? You've got to tell us who's coming in and when.
Absolutely.
You have the power of that?
Absolutely.
And do you have the power to say that flight's not going to land out of here?
That's right. And the state needs to stop incentivizing and rewarding illegal entry from the state level.
Okay. One more. Taxes. We suffer from some of the highest taxes in the land in New York State and New York City in particular. Would you do anything about that?
Absolutely. We need to get rid of the estate tax in New York. Also, I happen to be someone who's in favor of there not being any income tax. But even if you reduced it to 3% or 4% across the board, that would be big progress. We need to bring spending under control. There should be a statewide spending cap. There's a whole lot of inefficiencies with the money, the way that it gets spent.
You are
we
a real
need to cut
radical.
taxes.
You're a radical.
We need to save our state.
As somebody who said, I don't like the income tax, we better lower it down to 3 or 4%. That's a very radical suggestion.
I would go even further if I could.
How far? Abolish the income tax? Abolish New York State's income tax?
I would be in favor of it, but even if we're able to just reduce it, that would be progress. So right now we have many New Yorkers paying the highest income tax rate in the entire country.
If you make good money and you live in New York City, you're going to be paying a lot more than half your income in city, state, and federal income taxes.
And people
that's just wrong.
They're more mobile than ever, so why not just go to another state? That genius up in Albany who thinks that you could just make the wealthy pay their fair share, they're just going to go to Florida, and now they're paying 0% in income tax in Florida and 0% income tax in New York.
Latest Trafalgar Square puts you only 2 points behind Governor Hochul.
Yeah, that's fresh out this morning.
Yeah.
We feel it out on the streets. We're on a plane heading up to Buffalo from here. All across New York, whether you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, you're in a red county or a blue county, people feel like they're at their breaking point. The state's at a breaking point. This direction of the state cannot continue. I'm in this race to save New York. Losing is not an option.
Congressman, I like the sound of that. Thanks very much for being with us. We really appreciate it, sir.
Thank you, Stu.
Come back again anytime you like.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.